It was when I realized I needed to stop trying to be somebody else and be myself. I actually started to own, accept, and love what I had. Tracee Ellis Ross. All right, hear me. In order for you to own, accept, and love what you have, you need to stop trying to be somebody else and be yourself. Now that's what we're talking about today. Being ourselves. Not simply being ourselves, but owning, accepting, and ultimately loving ourselves. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the All Around Growth podcast. This is episode number 107 of the show. And this show gives you some insight and tools to build the life and homesteads of your dreams. My name is Rob Kaiser and I am your host. Today is Friday, February 26th, 2021. And as you can hear in the background, it is a cold, frosty morning, and I am trying to... Probably should have scraped the windshield, but I live in the Midwest, and for those of you who operate in a similar manner, all we need is a little portal out the windshield in order for us to, quote, drive safely down the road. At any rate, this ought to be a good show today. The title of today's show, the topic of today's show is Be Yourself, Love Yourself. And you may be asking what prompted this topic. And even if you're not, I'm going to tell you. As is the case with many episodes, this was the quote of the day in the self-journal. And for those of you who are new to the show and may not be aware of what the self-journal is, the self-journal is a 13-week goal planner backed by science and success psychology. It is designed to optimize your day, tackle your goals, and help you live a more fulfilled life. The self-journal will help you set, plan, and track progress goals towards your biggest goals, be more productive, overcome decision fatigue, and focus on what matters most. It'll help you prioritize your workload, build good habits, and make every day count. It's filled with nice 100-gram white ivory paper, and it's about 5.75 inches by 8.5 inches in size. That is straight off the website, and I'm reading that in a quasi-marketing type of manner because if you use the promo code YMF, an acronym for York Meadow Farm, the name of my humble homestead where I live, you will receive 15% off your first order. I am an ambassador. It's not like I make a whole lot of money doing this, but if you're looking for a journal, you're not sure what to try, I would recommend giving this a shot. I've used multiple different journals throughout the years, and I'm very happy with this one, so check it out. Anyways, who is Tracee Ellis Ross? Now, Tracy Joyce Silverstein, known professionally as Tracee Ellis Ross, is an American actress, singer, television host, producer, and director. She is known for her lead roles in the television series Girlfriends and Blackish. Ross owns Pattern Beauty, a hair care line for curly hair. And that's straight off Wikipedia. I don't know those two shows, but sometimes I think when I hear quotes, I'm always interested in who said what and who they are. So I just wanted to share that with you in the case that you were wondering the same thing. So with this podcast, part of my objective is to disseminate information and share my own personal experiences with regard to all-around growth. And recent feedback from episode number 104, titled On Recovery, really got me thinking. And it got me thinking, because that particular show generated the most feedback from any episode to date. And it leads me to believe that you guys out there that are listening to this right now, you guys care about me. And that means a lot to me. It does. And I want you to know that I care about you too. And while I do this podcast for me, because I care about you, I ultimately want this podcast to be of value to you. And I've reached the conclusion in life, as I go through these processes of trying to figure it all out, that I'll be able to do exactly that, as long as I continue to do one simple thing. And that simple thing is to love and serve my family, my community. But you see, I've also realized that none of this is ever going to be able to take place. Loving and serving my family, loving and serving my community, none of that's ever going to be able to take place until I begin to love myself. You see, everything we do in life begins with the man in the mirror. And I'd like to encourage you to think about that. Now, in addition to that statement, I'm going to share some of the questions that came to me as a result of the feedback that I got in that episode 104, which, for those of you tuning in that may be new, just go over to the show notes in your podcast player. You'll see links to episode 104 and links to the self-journal and links to a lot of what I talk about. I try to keep the show notes as full and comprehensive as possible, and hopefully that's helpful for those of you who are listening and are interested in some of the things that I have to talk about. Now, the questions that I'm about to get into, they all tie into the quote of the day. And that quote is, quote, "It was when I realized I needed to stop trying to be somebody else and be myself that I actually started to own, accept, and love what I had." And as I thought about that quote and thought about the feedback from the show, everything seemed to crystallize in my mind with the title of the show, Be Yourself, Love Yourself. Now, you see, the more I do this show, the more clear certain things become in my life. And maybe that's why you are listening to a podcast like this with me. All right, check this out.
So, why exactly are we connecting? What is it that draws us here together? Maybe you're looking for something you have yet to find, or perhaps you're experiencing some significant transition in your life. You may be unhappy with your day job, or perhaps you even recently got laid off. Maybe you're trying to improve and grow certain relationships in your life, or perhaps you're interested in volunteering or working within your community. Maybe there's an underlying or chronic health issue that impacts your daily life, or perhaps you're simply looking to improve your health and well-being. Most likely, it's a combination of any or maybe even all of those reasons. The bottom line is that we are both interested in personal growth and development. We are both interested in all-around growth.
All right, so for whatever reason, here we are, you and I, right here, right now. And you know what the best part about all of this is? The best part is, you and I, we're not alone. Now you can frame that statement however you wish, and I would encourage you to do so. But in the meantime, let's take a look at and visit some of the questions that were posed to me after recording episode number 104, titled On Recovery. Now I want to do this because these questions are really thought-provoking. At least they are to me. And I thought that if I share these questions with you, they may serve you in the same way that they have me. Now, I'm not going to share the specific context in the way that the questions were framed to me. Rather, I'll share the questions because you'll see shortly that the context is almost irrelevant, and I imagine these questions, once you begin to ask them to yourself, are likely applicable to whatever it is that you're going through in your own life. Help you navigate some of the challenges, some of the dark woods that you yourself may be walking through. So ask yourself, when you are thinking about challenging things, ask yourself, where are you getting challenged, fed, and supported? And think about the motivational books that you're reading, the podcasts that you're listening to, and the way in which you're engaging in your local community. And if you're questioning something in your life, maybe feeling uncertain about something, anything, whatever it is, ask yourself, what is it doing for you? What is it doing for others? And what is your goal in doing it? Now, furthermore, if you are extremely uncertain about your current path in life, you don't really understand the trajectory that's landed you to where you are now, I'm going to read something. I'm not going to read it. I've got it in notes, but I'm driving and I'm trying to be safe and not be a complete idiot behind the wheel. So, like I said, if you're feeling uncertain about where you're at, your life path, your trajectory, the same way that it was posed to me was that I was encouraged to reach out and connect with someone in real life. Now, that may be a coach, a counselor, a mentor, a friend, but sometimes, if you're anything like me, we have a tendency to try to do everything ourselves and not seek help for whatever reason. But if we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and open up just a little bit and allow someone to help us, we may potentially reveal some blind spots that we might not otherwise be able to see on our own. And that, my friends, can be a supremely awakening experience. I have done that before. I mean, as a matter of fact, I've worked with coaches, with counselors, with mentors, and to a lesser extent with friends. The only thing I'm actively doing right now is working with a financial coach, and I've been doing that for a few years, really help accelerate what and how I get out of debt, and I've done that. And I am thinking about repurposing that allotted budgetary line item and contemplating working with a coach. And I think there's a lot of value in that advice and that suggestion that was given to me. And that's precisely why I simply moved it forward and gave it to you. Well, it's not like I'm giving you suggestions. I'm really just sharing my experience. Anyways. As we reach the end of today's episode and start concluding the thoughts of the day, I want to read that quote one more time. It was when I realized I needed to stop trying to be somebody else and be myself. I actually started to own, accept, and love what I had. Now, once we begin to embrace who and what we are, we understand that indeed we are in the driver's seat. We have more control than oftentimes it feels like. Once you realize that you have the control that oftentimes doesn't feel like exists, when you excuse me, when you realize that we have the strength and the internal fortitude, each and every one of us, it's empowering. And once we reach that point, we can begin to ask ourselves bigger questions, such as, where do you want to drive next? It's not easy to think about the bigger picture in life when we're not happy with our life and we're not happy with ourselves. And I get it. Believe me, I do. Sometimes life is not easy. As a matter of fact, sometimes it can be goddamn difficult. It doesn't have to be. Not all the time. Sure, there's going to be times where life is truly lived on life's terms, as Dave Ramsey puts it. Now, Dave Ramsey is most known for being the finance guy, the money guy, the debt is dumb, cash is king guy. And he is. But as far as I'm concerned, he's also got some pretty darn good life experience and little nuggets of wisdom that come in conjunction with the money talk, because money is such an integral part of our lives. So remember that if you're not happy with life or yourself, that this is passing. This too shall pass. And just remember that all of this is not about the perfect map to forever. It's progress, not perfection, my friends. Progress, not perfection. If perfection is what we're seeking, we've got a long, hard road ahead of us. And sometimes the best question that we can ask ourselves is, what is the next step? The next step can begin with something as simple as revisiting the questions that I outlined in this show today. So take a moment when you can and revisit this show and review those questions and do it repeatedly. I assure you that if you put in the work, you will begin gaining some of the clarity that you seek. My friends, I hope that this show was of value to you. I hope that all shows are of value to you. If they are, and you think that this may be of value to someone else that you care about, there's a couple things that you can do. You can go to the show notes, you can go to the link at the very bottom and click to rate and review the podcast, or simply go to your own podcast player and give a rating there, give a review there. Sometimes that's kind of annoying, but the best thing that you could do is share this on social media, share it with a friend, text somebody who may be feeling down, and let them know that there are tools available to them to lift them up if that's what they truly want. There's also links at the very bottom of the show notes to all the podcast episodes in the past. And if you have any questions or any feedback for me or anything that you'd like me to address, I would encourage you to join the community on Telegram at t.me/allaroundgrowth on your internet browser, or if you've got the Telegram Messenger app on your phone, just search for the group All Around Growth. The community is growing slowly but surely. We've got some great people that are helping grow this show, and I appreciate you. This is Rob Kaiser, and thank you.